gosh, really? You guys. Psst. Hey, come here. Come here. Oh my god, get over here. Hey guys, so today I'm gonna go ahead and teach you guys finally how to Decoden. Yay! I'm gonna start off by just showing you basically my storage. Here are the pearls. I keep them stored in these 2 jars that I got, I believe from either Walmart or Michael's. These are really cool to use because you just unscrew and you can use whichever size you want. The way that I organize mine is first off by color, obviously, so there are white pearls and off-white pearls, and then by size. So in each of the containers I have the bigger pearls, smaller, medium, etc. Then I have my Swarovski pieces, which I keep in this acrylic case here, and then my pearlized pieces as well. I don't keep these too organized. Sometimes I'll keep them by color, like pinks, blues, greens, etc., but right now they're just kind of a mess. Next I have more pearls and rhinestones, and I keep it in this container which I got from Walmart. And this one has the same tubes that the other pearls are in, but I keep different colors in them. You can unscrew them and use it each pot, or you can empty it out into the triangle trays depending on what you're going to use. Those were all of the basic pieces. So finally, for the bigger pieces, the cabochons, cabs, whatever you want to call them, I keep them all in random little cases like this. Again, not the best storage solution, I think. If you have a small space, I would suggest you get some drawers or something rather than a bunch of boxes, but for me this is working right now. And then in this one I have also more random pieces. I have, remember I did own a shop, so that's why I have quite a large quantity. Plus I got discounts from my suppliers, which I will share with you today. You don't have to use what specifically is designed for Decoden for Decoden. You can deco with basically anything. I have pendants and buttons and things that I use. I have some vintage buttons from the antique store, some pendants that I've saved, or brooches that I took the back off of. You can really just be creative and make anything into a cab. Now these I got at Walmart, and the reason why I like them is because the dividers are actually movable, so you can customize it to whatever size you want. You can move the dividers around depending on how big you want the little squares to be. In this one I have some huge ones. For the actual deco itself, obviously the materials for your project are going to differ depending on what kind of case you're making. There are 2 different kinds of cases that I like to make. The first kind are whipped cream cases, which are these right here. They focus more on sweets and things like that, maybe some bows, but mostly just a lot of sweets and syrupy things. Obviously it's whipped cream, which is actually silicone, but we'll get into that in a second. These 2 cases, this one here was made by my friend Danielle, and this one was made by my friend Julie. I will link both of their shops in the description box, so please check that out. I get a lot of questions of where you can buy your own case, and I always put all of the information you need in the description box, so just click show more and you'll be able to get the link to both of their shops. These here are the pearl cases. This one I made myself using some vintage buttons and the cabs that I showed you. This one I got on eBay from one of my friends. Obviously, as you can see, you're not limited to just pearls and thicker pieces. You can use cloth and lace and other things like that. Right now I'm just going to show you the pearl one. The basic thing you need obviously is a phone case. So for pearl cases it's just a little more tricky to figure out which one you want to buy. You can get a solid one or a transparent one. Now my tip to you is this. If you don't mind a little bit of color from your phone peeking through, then get the transparent one. If you have a black phone and you want the effect to be more white, then I would get a solid white one or a pink one, whatever you don't mind peeking through. If you want to fill all the tiny little spaces between the pearls, you can do that with some of the materials I'll show you. But if you're a beginner, I do suggest that you get a more solid case with whatever color in the background that you don't mind peeking through. You can look on Amazon. I found all of these cases for less than $1. This is not strictly for iPhones. You can get any phone model you have. The other 2 basic materials you're going to need are going to be glue. Now, I do not like to use Gorilla Glue or Super Glue for the whole case. It's a huge mess. It ruins some of the pieces, especially the crystals, Swarovski crystals, and rhinestones. I like to use the E6000 E6000 glue. If you've never used this glue, it is a little tricky at first, not very badly, but it's almost like using a hot glue gun without the heat. What I like about this glue is that it has the effects of super glue to where your pieces will never fall off. If they do, it's incredibly rare anyway. This is one of the best craft glues out there. I use this for almost everything. It even glues down cloth or any other kind of material you might use for your project. The Gorilla Glue I do use, however, for the bigger pieces to stick with each other. So this is more for the whipped cream cases because, as you can tell, the pieces overlap. So sometimes you'll put just a little bit of super glue behind the pieces so that they can stick together. Another basic material is going to be the micro beads. This is kind of a secret that I have that I learned from my best friend Andrea. You just pour it into the tray, tap off any excess, and then unscrew this so you can put the excess back into the container, not wasting any of your materials. This is where I keep all of my tools. Let me show you the main things you're going to need for this style of case. First is going to be these little trays where you're going to put your pearl pieces, any Swarovski crystals, any smaller pieces you might have, you're going to put in here. This makes it a lot easier to deco with because the way that this is fashioned, once you shake this little triangle tray, all the pieces flip to the correct side. And again, for all of these cabs that you're going to be using, all of the ones that I buy were from a very specific seller that I'll list below. She is giving you guys a 10% off coupon. You can get things like this from Michaels on discounts. Michaels always has coupons and things like that. This is a set of pearls that I bought there. The only bad thing about it is that they are sticker pearls, so it's a little more time consuming to use because you don't have them loose like the other ones that I buy. So I don't prefer to use this just because, like I said, it is time consuming. But if you are very limited, if you're maybe younger and you can't order online, this is an option for you. You can even use things like studs or stickers. You're not limited to just loose pieces. Here are some other pieces you might want to use. These are little nail sheet stickers that are for your nails, but obviously you can use these tiny pieces for deco as well. This is the pencil that I use to pick up my pieces with. However, there are other homemade ways that you can do it. All you really need is something like a little rubbery piece that will stick on the end. There are other options. Like I said, I'll list everything below. If you have something like this that's a sharp end, you can dab it just a little bit in the glue itself and use that to pick up your pieces with, or you can even just heat up your finger a little bit like this, which sounds really silly, but that way once you dab your finger onto the pearl, it'll stick on your finger and then you can just put it on your case like that. So there are a bunch of simpler ways to do it. You can pick up your pieces with some tweezers, and there are different kinds for that as well, obviously, so it's really whatever preference you have, whatever works for you best. If you don't have a sharp tool like this, and again this is for my ceramic set, you can just use a toothpick, and you're going to use this mostly to push in the tiny little pieces that you have. So let me recap really quick what you're going to need for the pearl case. First thing is obviously the pearls that I mentioned before. You can either get loose pearls like this or sheets of pearls like that. Make sure they are flat back. Next is obviously your phone case. Then you have the triangle trays. You can either use the ones with kind of a velvety finish or the plastic ones. Some glue, and again my preference is the E6000 glue. You can find this at any Michaels or Walmart. And then just these random little tools depending on what your preference is. Try them out separately so that you can see what works best for you and figure out what makes it a little easier and quicker for you to deco with. Decodening is so time consuming. Let me tell you right now, pearl cases are going to take you a little longer than whipped cream cases just because it's more precise, especially if you use small pieces like this. So be prepared to work for at least 4 to 5 hours if you're making something this crazy. If it's just a simple case, it might only take you an hour or two, but you definitely want to find out the easiest ways for you to deco with and be prepared. And before I forget, when you're using your E6000 glue, another really important material is going to be either paper towel or a towel, an actual towel. I prefer to use an actual towel for this, but what I do is I keep one paper towel out, because what happens with this glue is once you stop squeezing it and you use it on a partial amount of your case, a little bit is still going to come out when you set it down. And be careful, because this glue will stick wherever you set it down. So always have a paper towel handy, that way when you're done using it and you need to temporarily set it down, while it's dripping out, it's going to drip it on that paper towel and you won't make a mess, and it'll make it way easier to use. So just trust me on that. And then on top of having a paper towel with the glue on top I also have a towel on my lap in case I get any glue on my fingers, a towel that you do not care about, that is already raggedy, because it's going to get dirty anyway and it will have glue permanently on it. So get a towel you don't care too much about, even an old t-shirt, anything you have that's cloth that you won't get little fuzzies on your hand from. The key to making a case that looks very well done and professional is really being prepared. So what you want to do is have a layout of what your pieces are going to look like. Go through all of your pieces and pick out the ones that you're going to use for your specific case. Obviously you want to make sure that you're not covering the camera hole. What you can even do is get a piece of paper and trace the case on that paper. Preferably before you put the pieces down. Be smarter than me here. And don't forget the camera hole as well. And then once you remove it, obviously you're going to have the outline of your case there, and then you can place the pieces exactly where you did when you laid them out on the case, so that you can see where you're going to have them and you won't have to be going crazy looking for your pieces and where you're going to put them and all of that. So you'll have everything ready here. That's what I'm going to go ahead and start doing, is gluing down the big pieces. And I'll try to find a better angle to film it at so you can see what I'm doing. So like I said, you want to go ahead and start with your big pieces first. And a good way to do this also is if you want to put your phone in the actual case and hold the bow and turn your camera on, you can see if the bow is blocking your photo or not. Sometimes it may look like it's not, but it is. So since the piece is so big, I would check on your phone first and make sure that it's not covering the camera hole. I'm going to go ahead and put the glue on the back of the Hello Kitty. This works a little better for the bigger pieces, but not for the smaller ones. So to put the glue right on the piece, like I just said, works a lot better for this bigger piece, but don't do that for the pearls because you will make a giant mess. So dab some glue, and that's the best way to use this, is to dab it instead of just applying globs of it, because as you're going to be able to tell when you lay your piece down, the glue spreads out and kind of squeezes out outside of the pieces, and you don't want that to happen. So just keep it there, hold it for just a couple seconds so it sticks really well, and do the same thing for your other big piece. Now sometimes, like in this case, before you glue this bigger piece, you're gonna see that you're gonna have a tiny little gap right there in between the bow and the flower. So I do suggest that you maybe put a couple of pearls in there before you glue this down. So you're gonna see that that's gonna happen a lot with your deco, is you're gonna notice you might have some space. Maybe you should glue down the pearl before the piece. You'll kind of get that as you go. So as you can see, you can apply the glue directly to the case like I'm doing, and then put the piece down as well. Now your next step is going to be, like I said, if you want it to look professional and well done, etc., you want to start with the edges of the case before you just start filling it in with pearls. That way it looks really organized and well done, and you don't have any pearls just kind of randomly sticking out. If you want to start with your edges before you start with the bigger pieces, you can do that if you are super OCD. But yeah, you want to do, you know, the sides, the border, around the little camera hole, and this side as well. This doesn't have a front piece to it, it's just the back, so it's going to be a little more simple to do. So now you want to get prepared for that. Get out your triangle trays. So after you separate it by the pearl size, you want to get a couple of more trays, and these are going to be for your Swarovski crystals or anything else you're going to have just sparsely through. Like I said, it dries relatively quickly, so you don't want to take too long to glue your pieces down. So I don't suggest that you apply a ton of glue around the edge. Go patch by patch. Hopefully you can see. And just dab it on there. Like I said, just small patches at a time. Don't get overwhelmed and go too quickly. And then you're going to just dab this to pick up the pearl piece. If it doesn't work, you can kind of scratch it and it'll pick it up. And place the piece on there. So as you can see, the glue is pretty flexible. You can play around with it for a little while before it dries and kind of move the pieces as you go. So you're not going to feel too pressured. With super glue, if you glue it down, really that's it. You can't move it around. And this would be the part where you would start using your micro bead to, fill in those little gaps. You can just, kind of pour it on there. I'm not going to do that with this case because I love how the pink looks just peeking through. Since it's baby pink, I think it looks really cute. If you're super OCD, you can use all of the same sizes and just have a line of pearls here. You don't have to do it alternating like I am. I just like how this looks a lot better. And like I said, this glue is flexible, so my bow is already moving around. Just make sure you're careful while you're working. You might want to wait until this dries for you to start on your borders, so have your bigger pieces down first and wait maybe 30 minutes. I'm doing this right away just for the sake of this tutorial, so I'm going to have to keep track of my pieces. Now I'm just going to go ahead and put some pearl pieces here under the bow so that I can glue the flower on. I'll try to do this facing you guys, but trust me, this is super difficult for me right now. So hopefully I'm doing my best. Just know I'm trying. So I'm just dabbing some glue in there. And then I'm going to grab a couple of pearls. And stick them in there. And again, this is where your toothpick is going to come in handy. And now I can put the flower here and see that the little gap is going to be filled up without you having any issues with that. Once you've gotten all those steps, like you've filled out all the border and around the little hole of your camera, then you can pretty much just start filling everything in with pearls and Swarovskis and things like that. So it'll be super easy from now. So really the main things that you need to remember is to start off with your big pieces, then go to the borders, and then fill in the gaps. That's why you need to have a variety of pearls. The biggest thing with the Swarovski pieces is you do not want to get glue on top of it because it will totally ruin the shine of it. So do your best to not get any glue on the top of that. corner, it's going to be the exact same thing as the other side, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So that's it. This is the finished result. I ended up not using any of my pearlized pieces just because I thought this looked a lot better and looks pretty complete already, so I didn't bother using any of those. But as you can tell, I have the sides done here and all the gaps filled and everything. This specific case I'm gonna go ahead and list on my Etsy, but stay tuned for my next tutorial, which will be for a whipped cream case, and I will be giving that case away. So yeah, if you want to learn how to make this kind of case, please watch the next video, and I will link that right here once I have it up.